we did during our terms. I want to conclude this by emphasizing a bit about what we learned and how it has affected the rest of our life. I learned that the world is much bigger than I ever imagined. I learned that people live and survive happily with so much less than one can imagine. I learned that we can learn a lot from indigenous people wherever they are found. I learned that America does not have the solution to all the world's problems. I learned that people express religion in totally different ways than I had ever imagined. I learned that the Maya civilization, with centers that you can still visit in Honduras, in Guatemala, in Mexico. The Mayas were the pre-civilization of the Spanish colonizers. It was an advanced and highly developed group of people who lived there over 1,000 years ago, long before the Western Hemisphere was discovered by Europeans. I learned that war is not the solution. Capitalism, while legitimate and powerful, is not the only system of government that works or that can successfully govern people. I learned that the Catholic Church, nor any other religion, should ever be the enemy of Protestants, evangelicals, and Mennonite Christians. Alternative service taught me to ask questions and not be quite as dogmatic about what I believe. I think I learned to think for myself rather than to do as I would have done had I been in the military, simply to march to authority and seldom ask why. Finally, Honduras gave me the urge to serve and to travel. Helen and I have done longer terms of service in 3 countries, plus short-term service. I've done short-term service projects in another 4 and have visited over 30 countries. One does not have to join the military to see the world. I would encourage all of you, guys and gals, to consider a minimum of a full year of civilian service in a different culture. Almost every religious denomination has such service options. And you can serve with Lutherans, or Nazarenes, or Catholics, and virtually all religious traditions can serve with Mennonite agencies. Go for it. It's cool. It's a blast.
Some of you want to know more about PAC service. There's a good DVD, and there are a couple books also about the PAC's program. What lessons did I learn? What impact did these years have on my life? The 2.5 years I spent in Europe were among the most formative years of my life. I learned to give and take, living in a unit with new friends from all over the United States. I learned to speak German and communicate with the local community and with the refugees and others who lived in the area. Later, I learned to communicate in a Greek village. In my service, I was given leadership responsibilities I likely would not have received had I stayed in the U.S., at least at my age. My horizons were broadened. I worked with others who had different traditions, and I was able to critically review the values I held. I observed church practices and learned to know civil missionaries. I experienced the challenges that relief workers face. I returned home with a sense that I needed to get additional education, but also with a sense that God was leading me into an ongoing involvement in the international church community. I also learned the masonry trade that in those days helped put me through college without debts. I don't think I could do it today. 5 years after returning home from PAC service, college graduate, married, and making plans to go to Vietnam, where I served as missionary and service worker until 1975, and then as a pastor, church planter, and a social worker, even here in Souderton area, for nearly 20 years. PAX had shaped the rest of my life. Most of you will want to consider spending significant time living and working among another cultural group, within or outside our country. You might do it right after high school, or after 1 or 2 years of college. In addition to the suggestions that Sam made, there's also the government program, Peace Corps, AmeriCorps. This opportunity to serve can help guide you into a vocation which you will want to pursue throughout life. And I'd say with Sam, go for it.